Welcome into the On3 studios here in Nashville, Tennessee. Today is Thursday, May 22nd. We got a loaded show today. I'm excited to be here talking recruiting with you guys once again on the Inside Scoop. But before we get going, make sure you are subscribed to the best recruiting channel on YouTube. Again, thank you for being here. On today's show, we're talking UGA recruiting. We're going to talk Auburn recruiting. We're going to talk Oregon recruiting. We also have new rankings update for On3, and we got Charles Power, Director of Scouting and Ranking, to break down the latest changes. But I also want to talk about the big week ahead. On Saturday, this coming Saturday, we have a live commitment on this channel, On3 Recruits, the number 9 ranked cornerback in the country, Mark Zachary. Now, he's from Indianapolis, Indiana. We got Notre Dame, Michigan, Florida, and Cincinnati as his finalists. He's a top 100 prospect, and he's going to be committing here with me live on this channel on Saturday afternoon. So what do you guys think? Let me know. Comment section below. Is it going to be Notre Dame, Michigan, Florida, or maybe Cincinnati? Let me know. Comment section below. Now, we started doing live commitments on this channel about a year ago this time. Yeah, right about a year ago this time. And we're going to have more coming. We got Mark Zachary this Saturday. Next Wednesday, 4-star running back James Simon. So I wanted to get a graphic made of where these guys committed, but I didn't get it submitted in time. What are you going to do? It was a little late today, but that's okay. I do a little bit of graphic work in my spare time, so I whipped a little something up. Here's our On3 commit tracker. Now, this is where we've had guys commit to on our channel. Heading into the summer, I think we're going to do about 20, maybe 50 commitments this summer, so this list is going to change. Right now, though, we got Georgia. Let me see. Georgia with 3, Alabama with 2, Oregon with 2. Yeah, so Georgia out in front right now in the On3 live commit tracker. All right. It is commitment season, so had to get the tracker out. All right, so I hinted at James Simon. He's going to be committing with us. And when I say with us, he's actually going to be doing it here in Nashville. James Simon, his family, myself, we're going to be live on the rooftop of the W Hotel in downtown Nashville. It's going to be special. James Simon is one of 50 recruits that's going to be in Nashville that weekend for the On3 Elite Series, May 28th through 30th here in Nashville. We're bringing in guys like Bryce Underwood, DeCorian Moore, David Sanders, Juju Lewis, DJ Pickett, Jamie French, Michael Fasusi. You get it. The best of the best will all be coming here to Nashville for the On3 Elite Series. Now, this is the second year in a row that we're putting on this event, and it's going to be, moving forward, the event of the summer when it comes to recruiting. And the purpose of this event is to educate and inform high school athletes and their families how to navigate this NIL era. Over that 2 or 3 days series, we're going to have speakers, former players, athletes, brand ambassadors, marketing execs, legal experts. They're going to all be interacting with some of the top 50 prospects in the entire country. Guess what? We're also going to have a lot of content on this channel. I hope to sit down and talk with every recruit that I just mentioned, all the big names actually. I'm going to sit down, I'm going to get the intel straight from them, and I'm going to put it up on this channel so you guys can consume it. So, like I said, big week here at the On3 Recruits channel. I'm fired up about it. You guys are going to be fired up about it. Now let's get to the show. It was scavenger hunt weekend in Athens, so there's a lot of UGA recruiting talk to cover. Let's bring on Jake Rowe from Dogs HQ. Jake, such a busy weekend. You guys did a heck of a job covering it all, but what was your biggest takeaway? What did you learn from this scavenger hunt weekend?
Well, I think, you look at you see those movies or whatever where they have the soundboards and they just take it and they kind of push it up on all of them. It feels like Georgia did that with basically every guy that was there. It's like obviously they didn't get any commitments off of it, but it really seemed like they kind of positioned themselves better with everybody who came. I mean, it's positive, kind of positive vibes out of every guy that left, and Georgia had some big time guys on there. This in the past, Josh, has been one of those deals where Georgia hasn't really racked up commitments, but it has, gotten several guys who had visited for this weekend in the long run, and I think that this year's event has a chance to play kind of that same way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of feel like this maybe set the tone for the summer. Like, it was a big weekend. It was a huge weekend in Athens, but there's going to be even bigger weekends in June. So maybe this was just a little bit of a tone setter. Now, we'll get to David Sanders here in a minute, but I want to focus in on Georgia wide receiver wide receiver recruiting in this video. And James Coley's in town. Now, James Coley has been at Georgia before. He's back at Georgia as their wide receiver coach and recruiter. And what are some of the characteristics of James Coley as a recruiter at Georgia? Inside Scoop viewers, listen up. Whether you're a seasoned gym goer or just starting your fitness journey, Fitbod is essential for your workout. It's a fitness app that customizes each workout based on your goals and adapts them as you improve. The app is great for me because I kind of go in my workouts in spurts, right? Sometimes I'm into it. Sometimes I'm not as into it as I probably should be. But the Fitbod app helps keep my consistency up. It makes my workouts more efficient. I actually spend less time in the gym now than I did before because I use the app. It's been great at keeping me focused, giving me a better workout each time. I also like how it keeps your, quote, gym streak updated, which keeps me motivated. It holds me accountable. Most importantly, I never stand around in the gym looking dumb anymore, wondering what I should do next. Fitbod has it all figured out. Whether you work out in a fancy gym or you're at home in your garage, Fitbod can help you get better each workout. It's like a personal trainer, but better. It's cheaper and easier to use as a custom fitness plan that works for you. Add Fitbod to your workout essentials. Here's what we're going to do. Join Fitbod today. Get your personalized workout plan. Get 25% off your subscription or try the app for free at fitbod.me/inside scoop. That's fitbod.me/inside scoop.
Well, I mean, he's really good at building relationships, and I think that's one of the first things you look at. That and energy. I mean, he just brings a lot of that. So he's a real upbeat guy. He knows how to kind of relate to the players. He's got a lot of connections all over the country. I mean, he's recruited all over since his career began years and years ago. I mean, I know he spent a lot of time at Florida State, and he's been at Texas A&M. He's been at Georgia. He's been all over Miami. Everywhere he's been allowed to kind of recruit the South Florida area where he does really well, but he also does a good job of branching out. And so he has done a phenomenal job, I think, of kind of picking up where Brian McClendon left off and maybe identifying some other guys that he can give him a good chance for.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's dig into some of these wide receiver targets on Georgia's board right now. You got Travis Smith, you got Marcus Harris, you got CJ Wiley and Phillip Bell. Talk me through a little bit of this. Who do you think Georgia's main priority is right now? How many do they want to sign, and who do you feel they're in a good shape with?
They got Thomas Blackshear in the fold right now. I would say they would try to get three more, at least three more. They would love to have those two in-state guys, Travis Smith and CJ Wiley. CJ Wiley is a guy who is just rising up Georgia's board. I think he's going to rise up everyone's board in the coming weeks and months. He's had a really good spring. They're in it big time for Talon Taylor, the kid out of Illinois. So I think that they're really in the mix for him. I see the West Coast guys, while Georgia did a good job with them this weekend, as a little bit more long shots. I mean, I know they were in town.
You're referring to Phillip Bell and Marcus Harris?
That's correct. Yeah, Phillip Bell and Marcus Harris. I think that Georgia is in it. I mean, I think they're going to have a chance, but I just see them as a little bit more long shots than maybe those two in-state guys and Taylor, who I feel like they're in pretty good position with.
All right. Well, let's get to the big man himself, David Sanders, the number one offensive tackle in America. He's been taking visits all over the place. I talked with Rusty Mansell about this a little bit last week about, David isn't in a position where he's closing in on a decision, but these visits are still very important. What are your thoughts on where Georgia stands with David Sanders coming out of this most recent trip to Athens?
Man, this was a Georgia-Clemson battle at one point. Tennessee and Ohio State have kind of thickened things up. Man, there's just a lot of punches to be thrown, I feel like, in this recruitment left. And I think the one thing that Georgia really has on its side here is the fact that they got David Sanders on campus this past weekend. A couple weeks, they're going to get him again. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that boom right there can really kind of get some relationships going. It can kind of give you some momentum. Now, with that said, I would still probably take the field as of right now, just slightly over Georgia, but Georgia's definitely in this one. And I'm really interested to see kind of how getting this visit, the proximity of this visit to his official visit, how that really plays out.
Yeah, and I'm not ready to count out Georgia for David Sanders. And I do think that heading into this weekend, they were starting to slip a little when you talk Ohio State, you talk Clemson, you talk Tennessee, but him tapping back in with the Dogs over the weekend, I got them right in that top group still. So we'll just have to wait and see. How hectic is official visit weekend going to be? Is Georgia going to prioritize a lot of June visits, or are they going to hold off and try to get some of these guys in the fall?
Oh, they definitely want to prioritize June visits, 100%, and it's going to be kind of every weekend that they can. It really seems like they want to get them in as early as they can. It's not one of those deals like I believe is at Clemson where they try to get them all in one weekend.
Right.
But it's going to be, what I want to say, it's May 31st, that weekend, and then there's the 7th, and then there's the 14th. I think those three are really massive for Georgia.
Yeah, and like I said, there was so many big names on campus. We only hit the highlights. You guys go check out Dogs HQ. They do an incredible job of covering all things, not just recruiting, but also football. Go check them out, Dogs HQ. Jake Rowe, appreciate you taking a little bit of time to stop by the Inside Scoop Talk Georgia recruiting.
Anytime, dude.
Most teams are waiting until summer to host their big visit weekends, but not Auburn. Last weekend on the Plains, they had 6 big-name visitors on campus, with 3 of those being official visits. Now, we're going to see if Auburn can capitalize. And in this video, I got the man himself, Jeffrey Lee from Auburn Live. We're going to break it all down. But first, Auburn fans, make sure you are subscribed to the best recruiting channel on YouTube. Go ahead and hit subscribe for me, please. All right, let's bring in Jeffrey Lee from Auburn Live, and we'll start with the running backs that were on campus. 1 unofficial visitor, 1 official, but Alvin Henderson, the unofficial, is committed to Penn State. He's from the state of Alabama. He slipped up north and committed to the Nittany Lions, but is this flip in the works?
In the works, I don't know if I'd go that far, Josh, but I believe a lot of people close to his recruitment, including myself, believe he's going to end up at Auburn. Auburn has prioritized him for years, even when Hugh Freeze and Derek Nix came on. And, it was kind of a surprise when he committed to Penn State, at least the days leading up to his commitment. But, I was kind of stubborn there, and I left my prediction, even though I knew he was going to commit to Penn State, I left my prediction on Auburn, and this is why. He shows up Saturday for an unofficial visit, kind of snuck in, didn't really have a lot of publicity about the visit. And I think that's just the first of many. We'll see Alvin back on Auburn's campus. I think he's looking for a reason to commit to Auburn, and he just hasn't found it yet. As when I say that, is everything lines up for him at Auburn. There's only one setback for him. There's only one holdup for him, and that's the running back production under Hugh Freeze. He wants to see how they're going to do that now with Derek Nix as the offensive coordinator. So I think it's a 9 out of 10 for Alvin right now with Auburn. It's just not a 10. And he's wanting to see that in this fall. And I think he'll see what he wants to see and what he's looking for. Ultimately, I think he ends up with Auburn. I'm not alone in that. But right now, you still got to unseat Penn State for him.
Yeah, it seems like it's trending heavily in that direction, but you're right. It's one thing to be trending, and it's another to actually make the flip occur. We'll see what happens. There's still a long way in this recruitment. All right, running back Usman Chroma, the number 4 rated running back in America. Jeff, let's do the science on this one, because originally it seemed like he was destined for Georgia, but now it looks like Georgia may be gone in another direction. In the meantime, FSU started trending, but talking to Chad Simmons, talking to Steve Wiltfong, they don't really like where Florida State stands in this one, and now he visits Auburn. So did Auburn make up ground, and where do you think that they stand for Usman Chroma at this point?
Those were his words. They moved up again for me. And not only did he officially visit Saturday, he's coming back in July for Big Cat Weekend. And man, this is one of those guys where you interview him after the visit, and he's gleaming. Some guys just kind of talk, but he was gleaming. And you don't really know how much to read into that, because you've heard the Georgia rumors and the Florida State buzz, but then you kind of clear the air a couple of days, and you see that Georgia may be pushing for others and where Florida State sits. So Auburn is in a very good spot for Chroma. I don't know that I would say they're leading, but I would certainly say top 2. And I don't even know who the other school is at this point. 3 days ago, I would have said Georgia, maybe Florida State, but now I don't know where Auburn, who Auburn's biggest competition is for him. Certainly like them right now against the field. But again, I wouldn't say they're the lead.
Yeah, really interesting recruitment. And, he is the number 4 rated running back in America, but his His recruitment is kind of transitioning. We'll see if Auburn can capitalize there. Now, there was 2 offensive linemen on official visits over the weekend that we got to hit on. One of them is Andrew Babalola, the 5-star offensive tackle, number 3 rated player at his position. This one is a bit of a weird recruitment because it seems like it's coming down to Stanford or Auburn. Is that the way you read this one?
It is. It is. Odd for a kid out of Kansas,
Right.
have a Southeast school and a West Coast school, but he does have ties to Auburn in the area. His brother attends Tuskegee University, which is 25 miles down Interstate I-85. They're very close. I think that's given Auburn a big in with him, and he's been to Auburn now twice in the past couple of months, and plans to come back. Well, I'd be surprised if he's not back for Big Cat at the end of July if he hasn't already made a decision by then. But I think his brother being 25 miles down the road, I think his relationship with Jake Thornton, who has built over the past 18 months a very good relationship with Babalola and family. I think also having some Nigerian presence on the roster, and Faber Edwin, who Auburn just signed. I know those two hit it off on both of his visits to Auburn. So a lot of things working in Auburn's favor right now. They did lose Khalil House last year to Stanford. So, that Stanford education, that Stanford diploma certainly carries a lot of weight, not just in the academic world, but in the football world as well. So you've got to overcome that. But right now, I think Auburn is very comfortable in where they sit with Babalola.
All right, nice. Now let's go up to the Northeast where Malachi Goodman was on campus. He's the number 21 ranked offensive tackle in America and a big-time priority for Auburn. What was he saying coming out of this trip?
Very pleased, very impressed. He had just visited Auburn 2 weeks before on an unofficial visit and liked it so much that he came back. Again, that relationship with Jake Thornton is thriving for Auburn. And, he likes the kind of small town setting. He's from New Jersey. Certainly going to be tough to get him out of the Northeast. I know Penn State's pushing hard for him. So, but I do think Auburn's making moves with him. I think they're solidly in his top 3 or 4 maybe. So we'll see how it goes. I do expect him to come back. He likes it down here and has that good relationship with not only Jake Thornton, but also with Hugh Freeze.
All right, Auburn fans, how do you feel about the big visit weekend? Tap in, let me know, talk to me, comment section below. And also, which running back are you? Are you on Team Henderson or Team Chroma? Let me know, comment section below. Oregon, they're making a run at a top 3 class. And look, it could happen. The Ducks are currently sitting at number 6 overall in the team rankings, but there is a path for the Ducks to get this done. And in this video, we're talking about the top targets on Oregon's recruiting board. I got Justin Hopkins from Scoop Duck here to break it all down. But first, are you guys subscribed to the best recruiting channel on YouTube? If not, hit subscribe for me, please. All right, let's bring on Justin Hopkins from Scoop Duck. And Justin, the path to that top 3 class, it's paved with 5 stars. Let's take a look at some of Oregon's top targets here. Of course, we're going to start with DeCorian Moore, the 5-star wide receiver, the number 1 wide receiver in America, just opened up his recruitment less than a week ago. He decommitted from LSU. Now, the teams involved are Oregon, Ohio State, and Texas, depending on who you talk to. Everybody's got a new flavor of the week, but the thing is, Moore is not ready to decide. It'll probably come sometime in July or August. How do you feel about the Ducks and where they sit for DeCorian Moore?
Yeah, I mean, what's better than 1 5-star commitment would be 2, right? So Ducks have Dallas Wilson committed right now, pushing hard for DeCorian Moore. And, I know a lot of Duck fans were excited to see him decommit from LSU. I think that was something that a lot of people expected to happen at some point or any point, and it eventually did. Really didn't change much for me in the way I viewed Oregon with Moore. They've been a school that's been able to get him on campus several times this year. Of course, then they hire Rashad Samples to come over on the offensive side of the ball, further strengthening their chances with Moore. So, yeah, I mean, I agree with what you said. I think this is Oregon, Ohio State, and Texas in the main battle here. But ultimately, I really feel like Oregon's one of those top 2 teams, and I've always been curious who the other team is. And I think it might be Texas, but I know Ohio State's making a push too. But I do feel like the one constant in the top 2 has been Oregon for quite some time, and it will be interesting to see how June plays out for him.
Yeah, and the other interesting part is DeCorian Moore decommits on Thursday and essentially says his recruitment's closed. And of course, it's not closed off to the 3 teams that he's considering, but I found it kind of interesting that DeCorian Moore isn't willing to entertain any other teams outside of Oregon, Ohio State, and Texas. Just real quick, what has Oregon done to position themselves so well with DeCorian Moore already?
Yeah, I think they've started recruiting him early on, prior to his LSU commitment, and I think when you talk about, there's a lot of really good recruiters out there, but there might not be very many better than Junior Adams. The guy just flat out gets it done on the recruiting trail, does a tremendous job building relationships, does a tremendous job recruiting everybody really hard, even the guys that are committed to him. So it's just kind of that calm demeanor. And he's got some development pedigree to him, so he leans on that as well. So as far as that goes, I think it's really been that. But then it's been further strengthened because you bring in Will Stein out of Texas as your OC last year. You bring in Rashad Samples this year, obviously with ties to Duncanville there. So Oregon's in a really good spot because they've got a lot of aces in the hole there, if you will.
Yeah. Comes down to relationships, and Oregon checks a couple of those boxes. Let's move on to Jonah Williams. Now, the number 1 safety in America. He was trending early to Oklahoma, actually still trending to Oklahoma right now in the recruiting prediction machine, but there's been some Texas A&M picks. There's Ohio State's involved, Oregon's involved, and he was just out in Eugene over the weekend. How are you feeling about his recruitment to Oregon after this visit?
Yeah, so this is one to me that I feel like if we're talking about a top 5, I would say Oregon's probably was 4 or 5 heading into this visit. They weren't in that top 3, I don't believe. And now I've changed my position. I think they're firmly inside that top 3 with this visit. Williams was glowing about his visit. We've got some quotes from him on Scoop Duck. I know others have talked to him as well in our network. And it just feels like Oregon made an absolute move here. I checked with sources there, and they felt like the visit couldn't have gone any better. Keys being the development that they have on the defensive side of the ball, the defense that they run, and how he'd fit in. And I know that this was just a big weekend for them. Obviously, having several guys from the state of Texas on campus at the same time, we might get to more of them. But I just think that Oregon really put themselves now in a spot to challenge for Williams, where I think they were maybe on the outside looking in prior to that visit.
Yeah, let's stay with that Texas to Oregon pipeline. Now, 5-star athlete Mike O'Terry, another number 1 player at his position. He's the number 1 athlete in America. He was in Eugene over the weekend. Now, he's been to Nebraska. He's been to Texas. He's been to A&M. He's kind of open. What did you learn about his recruitment coming out of this trip?
Yeah, tons of great things to say about Oregon coming out of this trip and the visit. And the offense, the way he'd be used in the offense, of course, Will Stein, Rashad Samples once again, Antonio Parks, all these coaches on staff with ties to the Texas area, the San Antonio area, even specifically there. So very much like Williams, where I felt, I do feel he's pretty open, but I think Oregon was probably not really anywhere close to the top 3. And I think they're firmly in the top 3 and might even be in the top 2 right now because of this visit and how it went. And just the way it was eye-opening. Of course, at the end of the day, we both know that getting these guys to actually sign and decide to leave Texas to go all the way to Oregon is another hurdle. But I think Oregon's at least put themselves in position with Williams and Terry to be at least in that top 2 or top 3, when that important decision timeline comes for both, which could be late June or July or, whenever they do make their decisions.
All right, let's get back to that path to a top 3 class. Now, Jonah Williams and Michael Terry, they were on campus over the weekend. The next 2 prospects we're going to talk about were not, but they are regulars on Scoop Duck, and the fans love them. We talk about them all the time here on the Inside Scoop as well. 5-star safety Trey McNutt. Early in this recruitment, it seemed like he was all in favor of Ohio State. It was just a matter of time until he pledged his commitment to the Buckeyes, but other teams have been getting involved. Most recently, he was in Athens over the weekend at Georgia. The Bulldogs were probably on the outside looking in of that top 3, top 4, but now, talking to the guys over at Dogs HQ, it sounds like the Dogs are a serious contender for McNutt. Where do you see Oregon sitting right now, and then when is the next time he'll be on campus?
Yeah, looking like top 3 for Oregon range right now. This is a guy that they've just kind of been laying in the weeds on. Coach Hampton's built a really strong relationship with him. And like you said, even when it was really trending heavily towards Ohio State, and it still might be, Oregon was not ready to give up with McNutt. They know that this is a guy that can make a difference in their defense. And like you said, they're really pushing for a top 3, maybe top 2 class. They want to have an elite class this year to stack with the last 2 top 10 classes they put together. And you and I both know McNutt's a key piece to that. He's expected to be on campus in June for an official visit. I don't recall the specific weekend he's coming, but it feels like, as we both know and recruiting fans know, June's shaping up to be one of the most pivotal months of the year in recruiting for a lot of these big-time programs, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with McNutt down the finish line there.
All right, let's talk about 5-star DJ Pickett. Now, DJ Pickett might be the most important piece of uncommitted prospects still on Oregon's board, so why not save the best for last? DJ Pickett, he lives about an hour north of Dallas Wilson, so Oregon's already proved that they can go into the state of Florida and pull some of the best talent out. Now, DJ Pickett, though, there is some tough competition. Georgia's in the picture, Miami, LSU, of course, Oregon. Where do you feel heading into the summer, because we know this recruitment isn't going to end anytime soon, but just as it stands now, how do you feel about the Ducks' placement in his recruitment?
I feel like Oregon's been a steady top 3 here. I don't know that I ever feel like Oregon's at any point, but I wouldn't say they're far behind whoever we think has led. And again, I think LSU and Florida have been 2 of the main ones we've heard a lot about the longest. I know Miami's probably right there in it. Georgia's kind of coming into the mix, and we know Georgia can strike at any moment. Kirby Smart's got a well-oiled machine down there, but I feel like Oregon's been a constant top 3, possibly top 2 for Pickett. They've prioritized him. They haven't backed off one bit. They view him as a cornerback. They have poured every resource into Pickett, and he's been one of the most frequent visitors I can recall for the past 6 months to Oregon, in the 5-star caliber, that is. So I think that the Ducks are in a great spot here. You want to stay in that spot. And like you said, it's more, the phrase I like to use here is you want to keep chopping wood, right? You don't need his commitment tomorrow. You don't need his commitment in June, because it's not going to happen. You just want to keep chopping wood, get him on campus, recruiting him. And I think Oregon's showing no signs of backing off at all. And they do feel confident that they can remain in this one, at least until, we get to closer to a commitment for Pickett.
All right, Oregon fans, tap in with us. Let me know, comment section below, which of these 5 stars do you feel best about heading into the summer? It's going to be a busy one. Let me know, comment section below. Well, you've made it to the end of today's video, but there's hundreds more videos on the On3 Recruits channel for you to check out. And also, while you're here, hit subscribe. New rankings update. The class of 2026 got an overnight update. I got Director of Scouting and Ranking Charles Power here with me, and we're going to talk new 5-star recruit and a few new big movers. Now, we're going to break it all down, but first, do me a favor and hit subscribe to the greatest recruiting channel on YouTube. All right, let's get it going. Now, Charles, before we get into our big movers, let's talk about the newest 5-star recruit in the 2026 class, and that is offensive tackle Jackson Cantwell. Now, he goes 6'7.5", 305 pounds. He's from Nixa, Missouri. Charles, why is Cantwell a 5-star and our number 2 ranked offensive tackle?
Yeah, Josh, I think Jackson Cantwell has a case as one of the biggest freaks in the 2026 cycle. This is a guy who's close to 6'8", a lean 300 pounds, an outstanding mover, and really functionally strong. So I think when you look at just what he brings to the table, this guy just is an immense physical specimen. Also doubles as one of the top multi-sport athletes in the country, a standout in the shot put. Just to kind of put it in perspective, he had a shot put throw of 72.5 feet this spring. As a 15-year-old, that is good for 8th best ever in the history of high school athletics. So just an exceptional prospect. He has a great pedigree. Both of his parents were former Olympians, younger for the class. And he shows up on Friday nights. He's got a great base, moves well. So I think there's a lot to be excited about with Jackson Cantwell as a prospect.
Nixa, Missouri, maybe. Got to be the first 5-star recruit from Nixa, Missouri. Have you ever heard of it?
I have not. I had to look Nixa up.
Okay.
Apparently it's in the Ozarks, kind of southern Missouri. So.
All right, well, good for Jackson Cantwell, our newest 5-star recruit in the 2026 class. Now, let's get into some big movers. We'll start with Jared Curtis. UGA quarterback commit, jumped into the top 20 overall. What initiated the move for him?
Yeah, I had a chance to see Jared Curtis in person at Under Armour's Nashville camp earlier in the spring, and I think the arm talent is outstanding. I think he has a case as the strongest arm in the 2026 cycle. He's now a top 3 quarterback for us inside the top 20, and I think when you just look at the pure arm talent, it's really reason to be excited if you're a Georgia fan. The Bulldogs got him in the boat, and I think they're building one of the deeper quarterback rooms in college football, and I think Jared Curtis will only continue that.
Yeah, easy to see why the Dogs made him a priority early on. All right, let's move on. Another committed prospect, USC cornerback commit Brandon Lockhart. He moved inside the top 70 overall. What initiated this move?
Yeah, Brandon Lockhart, I think, has a great combination of size and speed. He's close to 6'3", so plus size as a corner. Moves well, tested well on the camp circuit this spring, and I think just watching him cover receivers one-on-one, we got a good feel for just the coverage ability and instincts, and I think he's a guy who just has kind of the positive traits you look for at the position.
All right, the last prospect we want to hit on is wide receiver Jordan Gidron. Now he's from Columbia, South Carolina. He's 6'2", 185, big-time wide receiver, and he is now inside the top 100. What do you like about him?
Yeah, I think with Jordan Gidron, it's his game is speed and change of direction. Separates at all 3 levels of the field. Good change of direction and route running, and he has the pure straight line speed. Was a state champion in the 100 and 200 meters. As a sophomore, so that's certainly nothing to scoff at. And it's a guy who can really take the top of the defense, but also win underneath with very good route running.
All right, big update. Now, you guys in the comment section, let me know, who do you think will be the next 5-star in the 2026 class? Comment section below. Let me know who should be the next 5-star. Well, you've made it to the end of today's video, but there's hundreds more videos on the On3 Recruits channel for you to check out. And also, while you're here, hit subscribe.